It was a spring snow, as is common in this wilderness. Heavy wet snow that comes in fast and hard, covers over the earth and freezes her creatures. Looking out from behind the flour sack covering my cabin window, I could see the white accumulation. The wagon was already a day's work to clear its axles. "Well, girl," I turned to Fluffy Fang, sitting in the cabin's only chair. "I better get to the general store for supplies, or it's going to get pretty lean around here." Fluffy Fang growled her concern as I pulled on my heavy coat and gloves. I took her and the other dogs to run them a spell. Might be days before they could stretch their legs again. Fluffy Fang took to the cover of the wagon and stared out into the falling flakes. She knew something bad was coming. I should have listened. I decided to leave the dogs home as I could travel quicker without them. I took off down the rutted track already filled with ice and muddy sludge. In as many steps as it took me to reach the edge of my property, my beard and wool cap were covered in ice. Old Man Brookstone's surrey was sitting in a ditch with a broken wheel. I walked over to see if the old man was lying broken too. No sign of him. I was glad. He is a good neighbor. The storm was picking up strength as I traveled. I saw other folks rushing off to the store to gather up supplies, aiming to beat the worst of the coming blizzard, same as me. The mercantile came into view, horses and wagons covered in wet snow lined up outside its doors. Toothy Tarbite, so named for the stains on his teeth, met me at the door, bringing in extra store goods from the root cellar. "Nasty weather, this," he said. "Yep," I replied. Toothy's stock had been depleted, but he still had a supply of hardtack. That, along with a few dry goods, would have to do me for the duration. I paid with a few nuggets from my pouch, looked out the front door, and it was wider. Didn't think it was possible, but it was. "Best hurry," Toothy Tarbite cautioned. "Yeah," I replied. Pulling my collar up tight around my face, I started towards home. There was wood smoke coming up from the nearby bar. I could smell bacon crisping on an open flame. I trudged over to the door, and Miss Windy met me there, saying, "I ain't got much left, but you surely are welcome to a little salt pork and hot cider." "Much obliged," I said. I ain't standing up, as I knew I should not dally. Miss Windy is a most handsome woman. Beauty could get a man killed in weather like this, though. I drained the last of my cider and walked back outside. The cold was a wall I had to push through. No use complaining. I had to get back to the cabin. Each step was a new concentration, stopping only to search for hidden landmarks. Visibility was down to just a few feet. If I lost the path today, I'd never walk it again. At one point, the wind was blowing so hard I couldn't see. My eyes filled with sleet, and I was forced to shut them. Blinded, I staggered to the shelter of an old pine. I stood there shivering until I could get my bearings. The road was gone. The ruts were filled in with white drifts. I had to cipher my way based on trees and stands of grass I could remember from days past. Finally, I saw Brookstone's broken wheel, and I knew I might make it. In the distance, I could see my dingy cabin. With renewed conviction, I pushed against the wind. The last 100 yards I crawled on hands and knees, dragging my precious sack of supplies along behind me. I banged the door open and crawled through into the joyous warmth. Fluffy Fang met me there, concern and worry on her tiny face. "I'm home, girl," I said. I managed to get some coffee onto the fire. I gathered a hot steaming cup, and as I walked to the chair, grabbed some hardtack. Fluffy Fang joined me there as I wrapped a bear fur over my shoulders. I allowed the dog and coffee to bring a little warmth back into my old bones. One more day in the wild, one more day of living.